Hello and welcome to this review of Texas 254 blended whiskey. Crafted one batch at a time, Waxahachie, Texas. 80 proof, 40% alcohol. There are 254 counties in Texas, so that's why they give it the name. This is Backwoods. They say produced and bottled by Texas 254, but the website calls it Backwoods Distillery, Texas. I'm going to try to do some more research on them. They don't really give a lot of information, but around here in this town, we get their Texacraft pickle flavored whiskey and stuff like that from them. And they have some vodka, some obscure flavor products. But I've never seen their bourbon. They even carry Canadian whiskey imported under their umbrella. I've never seen those. And I was at Broadway Liquors on Broadway Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, about a year ago, and I saw this on the shelf, and I said, $19.99? I don't know if that's a good price. So I checked around. Well, it didn't matter because no one else even had it. But for a huge handle bottle like this, that converts to a very low price per regular size bottle, less than $9 per bottle for whiskey, so that's cheap. And it's glass, it's not plastic. I noticed all their bottles are glass. Now it says produced and bottled by Texas 254, Waxahachie, Texas. So they're not using MGP Indiana grain whiskey and bottling it over in Texas. They say they make all their stuff. They say all their stuff is handcrafted. I don't know. I would assume they're telling the truth. They say this whiskey is a combination of great whiskey crafted to perfection. So it's blended whiskey. They combine different whiskeys. Nothing but a smooth taste and a clean finish is what you will taste. You will taste. A hint of oak and balanced to perfection. This is exactly what's on the website. So what the website shows and what the bottle shows is something in my eye. Identical. 20% straight bourbon whiskey, aged 2 years, which is the minimal allowed aging, has to be at least 2 years, and then 80% grain neutral spirits. So, woo. 80% unaged corn distillate, which if you age it for 2 years, then it would be, assuming it was new charred oak barrels, would be bourbon whiskey, but they don't age 80% of this product. So, wow. Taking corn grits, probably, and distilling it and blending it with straight bourbon at a 4-to-1 ratio, and there you go. Okay, so Canada, Ireland, Scotland, not allowed. You cannot use 80% grain neutral spirits and call it whiskey. It has to be all the grain distillate in the blend has to be aged at least 3 years in oak barrels. Don't have to be new barrels. But in the United States, our regulations allow up to 80% unaged grain spirits of any kind of grain. So there's the foil wrapper coming off. You can see what's left. There's one video review, and I was watching it. They didn't really get into it when I came out here. I came out here to do the video, so they were just getting into it. Those two guys, I think they're brothers. They're from, they said they live about 10 miles from the distillery. And it was interesting because they said, we never heard of this distillery. And we went to a liquor store and asked the guy there, and he said, yeah, sometimes they deliver it. But so it's kind of like unknown there. 10 miles from the distillery, so that's interesting. This little band. This little band is not cooperating. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this thing off. I don't need it. That hurt. Went right under my fingernail and cut me. All right, if I can get it off. Some of these liquor bottles can be a pain, to say the least. Whew. This will make it feel better. All right, so I got this Crown Royal Rocks glass. Built-in pourer. So could this have coloring added? It could. With blended whiskey in the United States, I'm speaking for the USA, you're allowed to add coloring. You don't have to disclose it. You're allowed to add flavoring. You don't have to disclose it. Same thing with blended bourbon. But that doesn't mean they are doing it. I say it's allowed. But you are allowed to use up to 80% unaged grain distillate, corn liquor, ethanol basically. There's the sun up there, high in the sky. They said it was going to get cloudy, but there aren't too many clouds here. That's fine. Now look at that. That is some yellow. It looks like it doesn't look like a bourbon, but it isn't. It's only 20% straight whiskey. It could be straight corn whiskey, because that looks like mellow corn, really. Doesn't appear, but sometimes appearances can be deceptive, but it doesn't appear that they're adding coloring to this yellow thing. And there is a little bit of, it's not the most filtered product, because there is a little bit of sediment in here, like little chunks of something, perhaps yeast. So they're claiming it's handmade, so it may be. That's why it looks like that. Whew, it's warm. This might be better in the winter time. All right, let's go with the taste. Cheers. More sirens. We get a lot of accidents around here. Oh. Okay, got a little on my lips. Let's go with the aroma. Yeah, it's not much coming off the aroma. Maybe a little corn liquor, but it's questionable if there's any real appreciable aroma. So basically, let's say it has no smell, no odor, no aroma. All right, let's go with the taste. Cheers. And if you've had this, let me know, because I am not seeing this pretty much anywhere. But if it starts showing up, no problem. Oh, and those guys that were doing that video, they were doing a regular 750 glass bottle. They said he got it for $12, so I got a much better deal per ounce, $19.99. Wow. Yes, I think the website or the bottle is correct, because there is a hint of vanilla, a hint, like you think, is there vanilla? Well, maybe a hint of it, a ghost, a wisp, a scintilla. So it's just slightly vanillid. Is there corn? Yes, very, very, very light. I would say yellow corn grits. Very light, very light. A touch of oak. The body is light, light, light. It's probably really medium, but it's low medium. The finish is mostly dry, but there is sweetness in the finish, but it's mostly dry, probably 80-20. Just like the composition, 80-20. 80% dry, 20% sweet. So their bourbon is, I'm sorry, their straight whiskey is coming from Texas. I don't know if it's bourbon. Like I said, it could be straight corn whiskey. All right, it doesn't matter. You can make a blended whiskey in the United States. You can use up to 80% unaged grain distillate. That's the stuff before you put it in the barrel. But it's funny, when you read the regulations, it says the distillate, the grain spirits, must be stored in oak vessels. It didn't say barrels, oak vessels. Could be a big vat. So I'm thinking well, if you're storing it in oak, let's say for 3 months while you're blending it, wouldn't it theoretically be aging in the oak? You know what I mean? It is kind of aging. It's in oak, It would never be allowed for vodka, if you read the regulations, U.S. government regulations for vodka, which is also generally not completely true, but in most cases, vodka is produced from grain-neutral spirits. But if you read the regulations, it says it can never touch wood, ever. It has to be stored in stainless steel containers. It can never touch wood. It has to be pure distillate, No, I mean. So, but grain-neutral spirits got to be stored in oak. So right there, it's well, there is some aging in a theoretical sense to it, aging sense of it. Now, that's assuming that they ever put it in an oak vessel. Like I'm saying, this could have been distilled Monday and immediately blended with straight whiskey of whatever source, class, on that same day. So it may never have been in oak. All right, so all right, I have tasted many American blended whiskeys, most of which I would advise you to never taste. Oh, but it's true though. But especially those from Heaven Hill, which can evidence some extremely bizarre flavors like honeydew melon. You taste it and you're like, I know this is not right. Yeah. But this one, I mean, you can get some good ones. I mean, you can get Seagram 7 Crown from Indiana, and you know who's making it there. But 75% grain neutral, 25% straight bourbon, so it's a higher percentage of straight bourbon. Assuming it's bourbon, I think it is, but I can't substantiate that. But it seems that way. But that one is very nice. That can actually, you could put that into competition with some bourbons, and it wouldn't do terrible. Probably wouldn't win too many, but it wouldn't do terrible. But others, I mean, they would immediately be isolated and recognized as your friends would say, what is this stuff? What is this? This is so strange. So yeah, it's a long video, but simply it's vanilla, a little oak, a little sugar sweetness, maybe a little more than a little, medium body, and a mostly dry finish. So it's very smooth. Now, I'll give it that. It's like there's no bite to it, none. But you might say, well, that means it's dull. Yeah, maybe, but tell you what, it comes across pretty mellow. Well, you never know what's going to happen in this country these days. A craft distilled blended whiskey. I know there's TX, and TX does even spirit whiskey, which you'll pay for a handle of TX, $60. And it's 15% straight bourbon and 85% grain neutral spirits, and I'm not even kidding about that. And I believe there's we used to see it around here, Rebecca Creek. We get Rebecca Creek, but there was a Rebecca Creek spirit whiskey, which was just a a little tiny bit straight whiskey, and it was over, I think it was over 90% grain neutral spirits, because I think the minimum there is 5%. Ooh, spirit whiskey. How about that? That's what they use in Southern Comfort. Southern Comfort uses actual whiskey. That's right, actual spirit whiskey. All right, but that's a class of whiskey. No knock against it. It is technically, legally a class of whiskey. All right, so the score, well, it's pretty nice, actually. I was thinking it's going to be like, did cut my finger, but I thought it was going to be like really bad. I just thought, I don't know, I just thought it's not going to be good. Probably because it's obscure, and I don't know. I just get these ideas in my mind, you know, but I want to be fair when I do the review. So it turns out it's really nice. So for what it is, and we grade things for what they are, American blended whiskey, be very curious to see how this stacks up against Seagram 7 Crown. I have some of that left. So yeah, I'll go with 92. Like almost most excellent, but definitely excellent. Definitely, it's an excellent American blended whiskey. So if you've only been exposed to Irish blended whiskey, no problem there. Blended Scotch whiskey, or even Canadian blended whiskey, you might want to try American blended whiskey, but you might want to brace yourself for some rather exotic flavors. But this would be a good place to start and maybe finish. But yeah, this one and Seagram 7 Crown would be two good places to start, and like I said, maybe finish. You might not want to go any further, but yeah, a 92 out of 100, excellent to a pretty good extent. And I'm going to end this review by saying y'all go to Waxahachie, and I plan to do that, Waxahachie, Texas, and take a distillery tour.